Now, he's one of our best actors, and his new movie, State of Play, opens this Friday. Please welcome the Academy Award winner, Russell Crowe.
Thanks, man. So do you.
You know, one thing, every movie you have a different hairdo. Have you noticed that?
I have.
Yes. and this hairdo, I believe, is for your movie that you're shooting right now over in England called Robin Hood.
Robin Hood.
Oh, it's so good to have Robin Hood back.
Back on the big screen.
Oh, yeah.
Ridley Scott.
Yes, with Sir Ridley Scott, yes.
Oh, he's a great director, isn't he?
He's fantastic, yeah.
So,
he's a crotchety old bugger.
Is he really?
Oh, yeah.
Well, you've worked with him many
But you
times.
like making
I do.
movies with
I
him.
like crotchety old buggers for some reason.
Well, you should come
specifically
fill
when
in
they...
for me when I go on vacation.
That was pretty good.
That was good. That was pretty good, yeah. So, but Robin Hood, it's good to have him back on the screen.
Yeah, well, we're taking a completely fresh approach to the story and reimagining where people came from and how they might have got to the position where they're in. Like in every other Robin Hood, King Richard the Lionheart marches in at the end and saves the day. But in the research that I was doing, you know, and I was informing Ridley about the things I was discovering, you know, King Richard was French. He wasn't actually an Englishman. He couldn't speak English. He never spoke English at all. He spent, the 10 years that he was king, he spent 6 months of that time in England and stated quite often and quite regularly that he really didn't like the place. You know, so I thought that's an odd situation that he's become this heroic English figure, you know. And then we looked at King John, his brother, who has all these terrible nicknames like John the Usurper and John Lackland and all this, and King John's always been made out to be a baddie. And when you look into it, you realise that King John was the guy who invented taxation. So there's the reason why people over time didn't like him, right?
Oh my gosh, yes.
And he was also anti-papist. He was a Church of England guy, right? So over time, they've rewritten what happened in his reign. But the 18 years that he was king ended, you know, with the signing of the first version of the Magna Carta, which is the beginning of the Declaration of Independence and actually the reality of freedom for the regular man. So I thought, if we kill King Richard at the beginning, and then in that environment of taxation being applied, that's when Robin Hood should come to the fore. So that's what we've done. That little time shift, and everything, every single part of the story, whatever you've assumed before, we change.
Wow, this is going to be a whole together different version.
But the way that we're doing it is like, oh, you might have thought that he was, you know, Robert Locksley, but he's not. He pretended to be Robert Locksley for a while, so it's an understandable previous mistake.
Oh my gosh, boy.
I'm going to ask you the question, Russell, though, that the ladies of my audience would like to know. Are you going to be wearing tights in this film? Yes or no? Let's get down to the brass tacks here.
They're not going to be brass tights. But you'd have to have some brass parts of your body to survive an English shoot, because it's not very warm in England. No, we're not doing tights because, according to strict research, tights weren't invented until 400 years later.
Oh.
However, I've got a pretty dandy pair of leather pants.
Oh, we will? Then, if you wear them, we will come.
With, I might admit, quite a flattering codpiece.
Wow.
And I think, you know, when you add it up, stockings versus codpieces, there's not a lot in it.
Listen, I will be there opening day. You had me at leather pants.
It'd be a nice Christmas present for Regis, a codpiece.
Well, you...
I tried to get the wardrobe people to make the codpiece a little more practical, you know, so I could keep my cigarettes in there on my cell phone. But they wouldn't do it.
Can you imagine cell phone on vibrate on the movie set?
Not a bad idea.
I'm really impressed with the research you do for your movies.
Well, I'm passionate about making movies. I love making film, you know? And I, you know, I have a thing where I have to respect the gods of film, the gods that look after people that make feature films. So I got into the business in the first place to do stories that affected me, you know, and that's the rule that I apply with everything I do. And you know, to me, whether win, lose, come out #1 or whatever, you know, I know I've approached my job from a pure perspective, and that's satisfies me.
I suppose you did intense research on this current movie.
I actually did not.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
No kidding.
No, it came up so quickly. You know, I'd just finished Body of Lies with Ridley, and I'd expanded my body to 117 kilograms. I'm currently about 88 kilograms.
You gained some weight for that one,
Yes,
right?
I did.
Yes.
And I was sort of gently coming down. The sun was shining in Australia. I was looking forward to a long summer at home with the kids. And, you know, phone goes, a couple of friends from Universal. Look, we are in deep doggy doo-doo at the moment. We're a couple of weeks off from starting a movie. We're $40 million in the hole. Our man's dropped out. Would you look at it for us? And I said, okay, but I was not predisposed to do this film at all. You know, summertime in Australia is very, very wonderful place to be.
Magic time.
So I watched the movies, the previous movies of the director, this guy, Kevin MacDonald, Touching the Void, which is this pseudo-documentary about this mountaineering expedition gone wrong. And then The Last King of Scotland, which is what Forrest Whitaker won the Best Actor Oscar
love that
for.
movie so much.
Great films. So I had to go, okay, well, that's a problem. You know, and then I read the script, and I had a physical reaction to the script. There's a certain thing that happens in the middle of the film where the intensity of the journey that the characters are on just changes up a gear. So it was like, well, there goes summer, you know.
And that tells you this is for me. When you get that feeling,
Yeah.
you call it goosebumps or something.
Yeah,
like that.
well, it's sort of it can either be goosebumps or sometimes it can be like a really emotional effect where there's a tear in the eye, you know, whatever it is. But if I get that kind of reaction, and it's so unexpected, it comes out of left field. Like I said, I wasn't predisposed to doing this film. I wasn't that interested necessarily in the subject matter on the surface, but when I read it, it hit me. So I can either pretend then that it hasn't, and I'll know that forever, that I lied about it, right? Or I just go, okay,
this is it.
that's what I have to do.
When we come back, we'll show you a clip from...
Tomorrow on Live.